Hey, what's up, guys? Elliott Hulse here on another Sunday morning sermon. Today we're going to talk on a topic that most of you guys are probably very familiar with, especially those of you watching this on the Strength Camp channel. And I would say it's pretty common knowledge that the amount of calories you take in as it relates to the amount of calorie expenditure, how you're using those calories, will relate to your overall health and your level of body fat, right? We know that if we take in more calories than we're actually utilizing and processing, that what happens? You begin to store body fat, right? The calories that are unused end up piling up in the body in a way, right? And you end up with obesity. In fact, in the United States in particular, we have an epidemic of morbidly obese people. Right? These are people who take in so much, consume so much, but expend so little that they get sick. They bloat up to a point where they're ill. It's morbid, it's pathological, they're sick. We also have the fact that there are empty calories or negative calories, right? There are foods that we can take in, so-called foods, that we can take in that require more energy to break down than they provide to your body, right? We call these negative calorie foods, right? A lot of junk food falls into this category, right? And then also we have the third of the three problems associated with overconsumption, and that is taking in calories in the wrong macronutrient ratio for you, right? You're just taking in the wrong amount of stuff, and it leads to, again, pathology, or just not being the strongest version of yourself, right? We don't have to look at it like it's pathology. It's simply like, look, you're not performing at your best because you're either taking in too much, you're taking in the wrong kinds, or you're taking in the wrong ratios. Now, as cut and dry as that is, as much as we accept that as a truth for the most part, right, those of you who are watching this, I want to use it as an analogy related to the consumption of information, right? And this is something I've been working on, something I've been thinking about, something I've been personally processing over the past 6 months or a year or so. And that is, number one, we take in, I think because we have so much information at our fingertips these days, we take in so much information that we are not processing, that we're not embodying, that we're not using, right? That we become inflated, we become fat, we become obese. We also have the taking in of information that does not serve you. Right? This is like junk food information, right? When you eat Twinkies and Dong Dongs and Ding Dongs and Twizzlers and shit like that, you're taking in, you are consuming, but it is not only not adding to your body, it's taking away from you. There is information. I'm telling you right now, I know some people are gonna argue with you and be like, Elliott, you need to know. Well, do you really? You're taking in information that does not serve you. In fact, it is a fact. I'm putting my foot down. Some of the shit that you guys are consuming is detrimental to your health, detrimental to your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. You're consuming in all the joy of consumption, just like a junk food junkie, and it is hurting you. And then, of course, is the consumption of the wrong ratio of stuff, right? You're taking in stuff in an imbalanced way. You're taking in information in an imbalanced way, meaning that the food that you're taking or the information that you're consuming doesn't serve your greater purpose. It doesn't mean that it's wrong, like carbs aren't wrong, right? But are you taking in the right amount for your metabolic type, meaning it's right for you, who you are, and what you're becoming? It's the same thing with the information. Taking in information for information's sake is not a good idea, right? It will make you sick. So you got to think in terms of, what is the most important information in what ratio for me, right? I once listened to an audio program by Earl Nightingale, I think it was called Lead the Field. And he says, there's the three most important types of information for you to take in. He says, number one, this is his opinion, number one is know your history, really, which I think is super important. Everybody should be kind of studying their history. right? And I think that another one was your language, right? You should know the origins of your language, right? Not saying that I do this. I study history. I love history, but I don't study the origin of language that much to any great degree. Get a good handle on your language, he says. And then the third is information specific to your vocation, right? Don't go reading a whole bunch of stuff and engaging in a whole lot of consumption when it doesn't add to your vocation, who it is. What are you up to in the world, right? Does taking this in, right, knowing football stats or baseball stats really contribute to your overall objective in life, overall dream and vision? You know, part of it is most people aren't in touch with themselves to know what their purpose, their vision is, but that's another topic altogether. We want to get to a place where we're taking in the right ratio of information for us, right? So one of the things I'd like to share with you is a process of getting rid of information, info fasting, right? Because in the same way that when you take in too many calories, you grow obese, you take in too much information, you grow constipated. What happens when you get constipated? That means you're taking in so much. You're taking in too much, you're taking in crap, right? Most people who become constipated, it's because they're taking in bad stuff that dehydrates and stresses their body. They got a sympathetic response and their asshole sphincters tightens up and they can't poop, right? Dehydrated, dried up pieces of crap in their colon and a stressed out system, they can't shit because they're taking in the bad stuff. And then, you know, of course, if you're taking in the wrong ratio of information, it leads to constipation because you're unable to do anything with it. I can't do anything real with this. I can't practice this. I can't embody this. It doesn't do anything to me. Too much trash, and then all lead to a stoppage in your productivity, a stoppage in your value to yourself and to the world, a stoppage in the embodying, in the practicing, in the processing, in the utilizing of the information that you're taking in. This is super important, so much so that one day, to share a story with you, back in April, last video I shared with you guys, I explained to you how in April something happened. My birthday is in April, right? I had like a rebirth right around my birthday, which is typical. We'll talk about that later on. But at that time, several revelations came to me, right? This is what meditation and prayer does. Several revelations came to me. One day, as I was waking up, a lot of revelations come to me as I'm waking up, I realized that I needed to get rid of all of my books. I needed to fast, right? What do you do when there's constipation or obesity, right? You gotta cut back. I had to fast. Somebody's pulling into the driveway. This is, I don't know who it is. And all my teammates know not to show up here on Sunday. I bet you this is somebody who either wanted to come to the gym or maybe a fan. We'll see. I'm not turning off the camera. So stick with me here. So, yeah, I woke up one day and I immediately went to my office. I began collecting boxes, and you may have seen this in one of my catabasis videos. My office looked like a mess, and I was putting away all of the books into boxes so I can get rid of them. How you doing, sir? Oh, you're here to help out with the bathrooms. You're building the bathrooms. You're Mr. Clark's son. Yeah, he's building a bathroom, some bathrooms and showers and locker rooms at the gym. That's dope. Okay, great. So as it relates to my experience in getting rid of books, I gave away 90% of my books. Man, I had no choice. My body, my mind, my soul just prompted me to purge, to fast, to get rid of it. It was heavy. I had, as you know, loads of books, right? Maybe not as many as Ty, but I had library bookshelves and a library in my office. And I got rid of 90% of it. What I needed to do, and what I think was really important during that process, was I had to decide what the most important stuff is for me to consume. I'm over-consuming, I'm over-identified, and I think that's a big part of it that most of you gotta realize, is that identification with the information. Over-identification with books, over-identification with the consumption of videos and information, right? So many of us get that ego gratification for saying, look at the new thing I'm reading, look at the new book I have, look at all my books, look how great I am for all that I can consume, right? And then there becomes an identification with it, right? Anytime we have an attachment or identification with something that is external, right? And information is external. Information is dead, right? Osho talks about how anything that you read, anything that you receive, anything that you get outside of yourself, right? As opposed to revelation, is someone else's and it's old. It leaves no room for mystery. It leaves no room for growth. It is holding on to, being bogged down by someone else's words and ideas from a long gone time, right? Osho talks about burning Bibles and shit. Just burn up all the books, because what he's trying to do is have us understand that it is within that the deepest and most profound and most important information, right? The most important information for you is already here. They call it the Akashic Record sometimes, right? It's already right here. Not the point of the video. The point of this video is to share an experience of mine of getting rid of 90% of my books, such that only the most important books to me. I have one bookshelf. It's about that high. It's about that wide. Boom. I have one bookshelf that I will keep in my house, that I do keep in my house. And if the books cannot fit on that bookshelf, I don't keep it. I get rid of it. Now, of course, I try to stick it into every nook and cranny in that bookshelf, but it's my commitment to remain healthy and fit, to avoid overconsumption of information and constipation of information, bogged downness, ego identification with all the information by keeping it limited to that simple bookshelf. I'm not telling you to do that. Not saying that you should do anything I'm saying right now at all, because once again, that's Elliott Hulse telling you, this is my ideas and it's old, right? The minute you watch this, it's already passed. I'm just sharing something with you that, has been of resource to me. Some of you need to read more fucking books. That's the truth. The truth is, some of you guys are taking in, just like fat people who take in too much junk food, you take in pure junk information, right? You're on Snapchat all day long. You're scrolling on Instagram all day long. You think you're educating yourself because you're reading fucking memes, right? Just because it's on a square and has a picture of a famous person don't mean that it's right or real. And that snapshot of information that you think you're nourishing yourself with is candy, right? This is junk food information. So some of you guys, the fact is you do need to read some books. You need to go to, just like somebody who's obese and who's eating the wrong foods, we need to actually bump up your calories a little bit with some of the right foods, some healthy foods, right? So I'm not saying this is for everyone, right? I'm not, because some of you there are gonna say, Elliott Hulse is an ignorant bastard telling people not to read books. That's not the case, right? They gotta clarify. These days they gotta clarify, right? I can't just assume you guys are in the same, you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. So information fasting, book fasting, is also related to, right? And I think this topic's important for this day and age, but it's also related to breaking down, getting rid of, dying to parts of yourself, particularly that are no longer serving you, that your ego is identified with. A big theme in these past current videos that I've been making for you guys is a matter of letting go, breaking down, dissolving parts of yourself that no longer serve you, right? And my question, my invitation, our dialogue here today, because I'm hoping that you can share with me down below, is what do you need to get rid of? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to break down and dissolve, chop off, remove identification from in your life so that you have the room to grow, right? If your cup is too full, you have no room for evolution, no room for growth. What ideas, what beliefs, right? Some of our beliefs, some of our most deeply held beliefs are no longer serving us, right? That's like eating rotten meat, old food, old shit that, because daddy ate it and because granddaddy ate it and my great-great-granddaddy ate it, now I gotta eat it. Well, it's making you sick, but you gotta be real. Self-reflection, being self-objective is very important on this path. So you gotta be real with yourself. Like, is that shit helping you? So your beliefs, even your most deeply held beliefs, dogmas, superstitions, books, ideas, consumption, what could you get rid of? What could you let go of so that your cup could be a little bit more empty and you might be filled up with something new? Let me know, share down below, done.